The National Electoral Commission says that by March 5th, 2021, all districts in Rwanda will have new executive leaders, save for the 3 districts that form the capital, Kigali. This is after NEC announced the electoral calendar for local government leaders at district level, National Youth Council, women leaders and representatives for persons with disabilities. The Executive Secretary of the National Electoral Commission, Charles Munyaneza, joins us in studio via phone call to tell us more about this electoral calendar and how elections will be held amidst the COVID-19 prevention guidelines. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Charles.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We understand elections for grassroots leaders have been extended for over 2 weeks compared to the initial calendar published in October. What is the latest now, and what does it mean to the entire process of voting for local government leaders, especially district executives?
Thank you very much. As we announced sometime back, we've got elections next year, January. The process starts, but re-election takes place on 20th February, but also 22nd, and as you've just said, that election shall be held on 5th of March.
Right.
So we've been holding a number of preparations in line with this. Let me remind viewers that this is the 5th elections that we are going to have after the policy decentralization that started in 2020. So we are thinking of these elections, and we, as you said, we have started preparation, but also extended the process, taking into consideration the prevailing conditions, that we have to take into consideration in terms of managing these elections, but also in the context of COVID-19.
All right.
So first of all, we shall be receiving candidatures from 11th of January to 22nd of December. Thereafter, we shall be having the first elections, I was saying, on 20th of February. 22nd of February, we shall be having elections for councillors for districts except in Kigali.
Right.
And the last elections for district mayors and vice mayors shall be conducted on the 5th of March. So we are doing this, taking into consideration the prevailing conditions, and we have put in place a number of measures to hold these elections, but also preventing the spread of this COVID-19 epidemic. One of the measures that we have been putting in place, one is to make sure that we observe the existing regulations, making sure that whoever comes to vote wears a mask, has to wash the hands, but also we are putting sanitizers in all polling stations across the country. But also thinking of introducing technology in these elections in a way that we are going to make sure that as we update our voting register,
right,
people will have to register but also verify their voter registration status online using their phones, using their computers, but also we shall also put in place the sensitization, mobilization measures using IT, not necessarily meeting people in large groups. We're also thinking of people submitting their candidatures. Originally, we used to have people carrying their papers to our staff, but this time we are thinking of people submitting their papers via internet, such that we receive but also respond on the receipt of these papers. And of course, we are putting in place measures to make sure that we increase the number of polling stations, polling centers, to make sure that we reduce the number of voters in one polling station. So we are thinking of having these elections to make sure that they are successful as ever, but also making sure that they are not a cause to the spread of this pandemic. And as we are saying, by 5th of March, leave alone the executive committees of districts, as we have been saying, but also we shall have had elections at village level on 20th of February. On 22nd, we shall have elections for councillors. And in between, we shall be having, of course, elections for national councils, for people with disabilities,
right,
women, youth, and we hope and we are foreseeing a successful election, notwithstanding this current pandemic, because we are dealing with, we are working with different stakeholders in the process to make sure that this is a success.
Just you talked about it. We're going into these elections as the country and the whole world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic. But we are wondering how far or at what percentage are you with implementing these guidelines that will guide people throughout the election process? And are you confident that by the time the election comes, will all these measures be in place?
This explains why we have decided to extend some of these activities for at least 2 weeks, to make sure that we reach out to the population, of course, with the consultation and working with other groups. For instance, we are working with the National Women Council, we are working with the National Youth Council, the people with disabilities, we are working with the media. So we are beginning a program that is intended to reach out to the people in the villages, using especially the media, using social media for those that use it. And we are confident that by the time we reach these elections, of course, taking into consideration the existing regulations in place, social distancing, wearing masks, etc., we are thinking that we shall have a successful election, especially that we are thinking of increasing the polling stations and polling rooms.
Right.
We've been using around 16,000 polling rooms all over the country. Right now, we are putting in place around 17,000 to make sure that we decongest people that come to vote in one polling station. And as I was saying, we are mobilizing, we are sensitizing, working with the local government, working with the media, and in days to come, in 1 month or 2 months to come, we shall be, of course, making sure that everybody understands this, and we hope by the time we end these elections, it will be a success, and we shall have avoided having this pandemic as we move forward, and as we move forward in making sure that we continue the process of decentralization and making sure that we decentralize but also democratize our local governments.
Absolutely. But yes, we can say that there are hopes, but no one can just predict what is in the future. Won't the extended electoral calendar contradict with the laws governing the elections of local government leaders? No. Setting these dates, polling dates, we've been in consultation with the Minister of Local Government. We are considering in the law, as you are saying, we have got the organic law. On elections, we have also got the law governing these local governments. So we have been consulting all these legal instruments. And absolutely there will be no contradiction because looking at the past elections, we had the such election in 2016. And the current leaders started their offices early March. So that's why we are saying, taking into consideration the 5th of March, where we shall have elections for these district executive committees, there will be no contradiction on when their mandates end and when their office mandates start. So we are absolutely looking at all these things, and we are working closely with Minaloc, and we are working closely with other instances that are charged with making sure that there is a smooth transition. Right. By the way, the law states that while we are organizing these elections, especially when we start receiving candidatures, which is supposed to begin on 11th of Jan, as I was saying, the current leaders, especially the executive committees, the councillors are supposed to leave their office. And the law says that during that transition, the executive secretaries of districts, but also sectors, are the ones who will be in charge of running these local government entities. So the law says that these people will be in office and running these district entities and sector entities until when the elected leaders assume their offices. So there will be nothing that
will interfere with the management of these local government entities until when these people are sworn in. And we are working with everybody concerned in this process to make sure that we have elections, but also nothing is interrupted in terms of this local governance.
Right. And finally, what will happen with the city of Kigali, which is currently governed under new local government structure that saw mayors being replaced by executive administrators?
Yes, as you know, last year, 2019, there was a reform in the city of Kigali, especially at the level of districts, but also at the level of the city of Kigali, where we no longer have councils at district levels, but we have such a council and executive committee at city of Kigali. Right. Meaning that these people were elected last year have a mandate of 5 years. And therefore, as we talk of these elections that are to take place next year, in Kigali we shall not have elections for councillors at district level. We shall not have elections for councillors at Kigali city level, nor shall we have executive committees at city of Kigali level. So we shall have only elections from village level up to sector level in the city of Kigali.
Right.
And the rest shall continue as stated in the law that brought about this reform at the city of Kigali, but also at the 3 districts in Kigali city. So for next year, we are talking of having elections in 27 districts at district level.
Right.
And of course, as Kigali is a decentralized entity, we shall not have these elections next year as the leaders who are elected last year still have their mandate as they are elected for a 5-year mandate.
Right. Thank you very much, Charles, for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting us.
All right.